Hello, and welcome back to the We Miss the Exit show. We're doing the Austrian Grand Prix preview. Yes, I know the race is over or just about over. Had a refrigerator issue this morning, so been working on that. Didn't get a chance to do the show last night, so here we are, the Austrian Grand Prix preview. Race news. There was a bunch of stuff, but didn't get a chance to get it all put in here. Just found this tweet from Mercedes. Thought it was hilarious, considering Russell and Hamilton both crashed out in Q3. I just like how they're ripping on themselves. Fun. A lot of the teams have great fun um, social media, especially Twitter. So I definitely recommend checking them out and following them if you can. All right. Nope, we're not doing the British Grand Prix. Guess I forgot to update some of this stuff. We are doing the Austrian Grand Prix, and here's the grid. Obviously, with the sprint qualifying race yesterday, changes the grid from qualifying. But here's the grid after the sprint race yesterday. Uh, Before we do that, let's go into qualifying real quick. Bottas. Um, Prior to the race, he needed to change his engine, so he is going to start last on the race day regardless. But Red Bull Ring, not a lot of turns, yet cars seem to be having trouble. A lot of them were running wide, losing times. It left, Raised a lot of concerns regarding who was going to end up where. To me, it made things a little bit more interesting. Obviously, Checo had some issues with this. Everyone did, but Checo's was obviously the most controversial and the one that had the biggest impact on everything. Right out of Q1, Ricardo and Aston Martin were struggling. Norris was complaining about having issues with his braking. They were talking about on the broadcast how the Mercedes is stiff, or not Mercedes, McLaren is stiff on the front, and you could see that Norris was just not feeling it. I had hopes for McLaren this year, but I don't think I had them ranked very high. I like Norris and was hoping to do good. I like Ricardo too. Um, he just seems like he's just about done with racing though. Um, Hamilton, and again, as I said earlier, Hamilton crashed in Q3, so did Russell. Um, Hamilton's crash a little bit more severe, ended up with a red flag, so did Russell's, but 5.5 minutes left. Hamilton went out, Russell went back out and crashed himself. May have messed up some people's times, but not a whole lot. My biggest concern was um, Hamilton's crash looked a little severe, a little scary, and the fans were cheering. I don't get this. Even if you don't like a driver or rooting for another driver, um, you should definitely not cheer when someone crashes, especially if you don't know if they're going to be all right. These cars go really fast, and the impacts are uh, quite can be quite damaging on the bodies of the drivers. So fans need to chill out. Uh, I wish Verstappen came out and said a little bit more about it. Maybe he did. I didn't hear anything, but when fans were booing Verstappen, Hamilton came right out and said, "Don't do that. What's the purpose of this? We're better than that, and the fans should be better. Verstappen's fans should be better, and not cheer when someone crashes, even if it is the driver you like the least." So Verstappen ended up on pole, his third pole of the season. Leclerc second, Sainz third, Perez fourth. Perez again, as I said earlier, got knocked down back down to 13. He exceeded track limits at the end of Q2, eliminating his time, and so they gave him his best time and moved him back down. I felt this was ridiculous. One, if you're not going to do it right away, you might as well not do it at all. Two, Perez getting knocked down to 13 would have put Gasly up into Q3, and the Gasly constantly getting screwed all season with these rules for qualifying. Um, I'm a Gasly fan. I don't think he's better than being on AlphaTauri, one of the B teams, but um, he's getting screwed all the time by the FIA, and so it's pretty ridiculous. Um, and that's it for qualifying. There was some other stuff that happened, but nothing overly other than the crashes for Mercedes. Kind of changed their plans a little bit. Hamilton had to get a new car. But um, right from the sprint, let's get to the sprint now. Joe stalled right before getting to the on the formation lap and didn't make it to the line. They had to do another formation lap. Don't see that a whole lot. And uh, let's see. Joe again didn't make the starting line. His car ended up starting again. He had to start from the pit lane with Alonso, who ended up not doing the sprint at all. Didn't see what happened with his car. Again, just too busy. Didn't get a chance to read about it. But Alonso didn't get to do the sprint, and uh, in turn was supposed to start at the end. As you can see here, Bottas um, getting a new engine automatically gets put down at the bottom. Um, so with the Austrian Grand Prix, there's only 10 turns, 3 DRS is a quick track. Um, the drivers got to be ready. They got to be on and off. And um, right from the start, Checo had a great start, moved up from 13th to 8th place, and got stuck behind the Haas's, kept him behind him for a little bit, but he ended up passing both on the uh, same lap and ended up getting around Ocon not too much later. If he had gotten around the Haas's a little bit earlier, he probably would have caught Russell. Would have been a nice battle at the end there. But Russell had a quiet race by himself. You wouldn't even known he was out there if they didn't know. Same with Verstappen. Um, Gasly again having issues with starting for some reason, going right into turn one, uh, crashed and um, I don't know what's going on. Whether he's too eager or what's going on, but Gasly it seems to be always crashing in these races now. Hopefully he doesn't do that again today. But again, I haven't watched the race, so who knows? Let's see here. Watching the race, the two Ferrari drivers battled each other for the first few laps, hurting their tires, didn't give them a chance to catch Verstappen. If they worked together, slingshotting each other through the DRS zones, they definitely could have caught him. And as I was saying at the last show, Leclerc seems frustrated with the team. These guys aren't working together. It happens all the time, obviously, when you have two number ones like that. Um, I think Leclerc's a better driver, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of giving a driver priority. But um, it'd be great, much better for both drivers if they just started to work together. I understand Leclerc's frustration. He seems to be getting screwed every time there's a decision, and every time the team does something, he's the one that ends up missing out. So I do feel bad for Leclerc. But Checo had, as I said earlier, had some beautiful moves to move up into eighth and then move up to sixth and then uh, get up to fifth. So Checo, beautiful race by him. Picked up some points, especially starting in 13th. Um, Albon seems to be having issues with not hitting people or driving them off the track. A couple times during this race, he was pushing people off the track. It's normal to see that during races and everything, but he seems to be a little bit more aggressive than the rest of them. And then the highlight for me of the sprint was Mick Schumacher holding off Hamilton. For it seemed like 10 laps, Mick was able to keep the Mercedes behind him. Obviously, having his teammate in front of him, it seemed like Magnussen was holding off a little bit to keep Schumacher, keep him having DRS and keep him in the tow. But Mick defending Hamilton was great. He was in the right spots. He wasn't too aggressive. He wasn't pushing. Um, Again, Mick's gonna be a great racer. Can't wait to see what he does. Um, he did ask Magnussen to hold back, so he could keep DRS. Magnussen did for the most part. But then he ended up pulling away, and Hamilton ended up getting around Schumacher. Kind of saw that coming anyway, but Hamilton ended up getting the last points over Schumacher. It would have been great to see Mick get some points again in the sprint qualifying. Um, I did see a little bit later, I'm not sure if it's true or not, Mick a little upset that um, he wasn't in front of Magnussen. Mick felt he was the faster racer. But again, I think Magnussen was holding back to keep Mick in tow. So Mick needs to check himself before he speaks to that kind of stuff. So with the sprint qualifying, you end up with it sets the grid for the race. So Verstappen did win the sprint, followed by Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, Perez, Ocon, Magnussen, Hamilton. Those are the guys that got points from the sprint qualifying. Schumacher and Norris round out the top 10. And then you're going to have Ricardo, Stroll, Zhou, Gasly, Albon, Sonoda, Latifi, Vettel, Alonso, Bottas. Vettel dropped out of the sprint towards the end. After Albon hit him, he did have some issues, so the three guys at the bottom didn't even finish the race. One didn't even start the race. Or, sorry, Bottas did finish the race, but with the penalty got put down. So Latifi and essentially qualified last again. So my prediction for the Austrian Grand Prix, I think Max is going to take pole to the win, followed by Leclerc. Leclerc, again, great driver. I don't think he's going to lose that second spot. I think Perez does get around Sainz. Perez has been very aggressive and doing a great job, so I think Perez ends up in third. Sainz in fourth. I think he's able to keep away from Hamilton, keep Hamilton behind him. I think Ocon's going to be get sixth. Norris seventh. Magnussen eighth. Ricardo, I think, is going to pick up some points here. I feel good about Ricardo. And Schumacher, I think, is going to get points. He's got that taste of the points, and I think he's going to push hard and try to get points again this time. I think he's going to end up in the points this time. Mr. Consistency, I don't have him again. I, I don't think he lets it show, but I think he got shooken up from the crash. Kind of happened last year when he crashed. He was kind of at it for the next couple races. Obviously, different car, different team. He seems more confident this time, but I think um, Russell has some issues, whether he gets out or just has some issues and falls behind. I I don't see Russell getting the top 10. Mr. Consistency out of the points for the Austrian Grand Prix. All right, now for my team, um, I have Leclerc and Sainz and Verstappen. So you can see why I'm hoping they're 1, 2, 4. I'm happy if they're 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter to me either way. Sonoda, not happy about that, but he's cheap. I gotta go with him. I got Bottas starting at last. Not happy about that, but you know what? He's a great driver. I think he'll make his way through the pack. May not get in the points, but he'll make his way through the pack. And then I have the Haas team. Then that's probably plays a factor in why I think they're both gonna get points. But they had a great qualifying, so I'm feeling good about Haas right now. I think I had AlphaTauri. I ended up dropping them because they're just bad. Their team's bad. I got Sonoda for some reason. I probably should have gotten rid of him and picked up someone else, but we'll see what happens here. Um, with all the Sonoda's issues, I'm not going to be surprised if he's out of F1 sooner than later, but we'll see. He's young, and it's only his second season, but we'll see. He seems to have some growing up issues and doesn't have the um, he's not good enough to overcome those issues, like Verstappen, who had maturity issues in the beginning. But if you can back it up with your driving, uh, it goes a long way. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you haven't seen the race already, let me know what you think. If you have seen the race, let me know what you make fun of my predictions. That's fine. But looking forward to the race. Can't wait to see what happens. And again, thanks for watching.